Welcome, everybody, to the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host for the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host. First up, Ty Robbins. How you doing, Ty?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to see what this draft pick's going to look like, and I'm hoping Joe Burrows is wearing a Bengals jersey when it's all said and done. So looking forward to the combines this week so I can see what other people we can pick.
All right, and I think the combine's next week, Ty.
Oh, I got a week off then.
Come on, Ty. Now you got nothing to do this weekend. I'm sorry. And our other co-host, you know him, you love him. He went to the Super Bowl wearing orange and black, and if you're under the age of 40, you may not believe that ever happened, but this guy can prove it did. Number 58, Joe Kelly. How you doing, Joe?
Well, Mike, being optimistic, or at least trying to be optimistic. Another off season. There's a lot of noise going on around Joe Burrows, and a lot of if you look at Facebook, it'll make you seem as though Mike Brown is talking to everybody and willing and dealing, trying to see what he can get, but. All of us that have been around, Bengal Nation and know about the Browns know that is more than probably 1,000% unlikely. Mike has never been a guy that's going to make, some really big, bold moves. He's going to be safe. He's going to, go with the flow and, play it safe and hopefully that he strikes gold. So. It's a wait and see thing, and I'm as well. I'm going to go down to the combine the last weekend and kind of hobnob with some of the old heads and other NFL alumni, and get a chance to go out on the field a couple of times to see some young talent.
All right, Joe, and let's just start off from the top. This has to be Joe Burrow, doesn't it, Joe?
I would. You can't. How can you pass him? I'm looking at this kid, and they're talking about his body of work, and he hasn't done it as long as Tua. But based on what this kid did, and the fact that it was in the SEC with some of the more premier elite athletes, this guy he showed his toughness. He took a really good shot in the national championship. He got back up and threw a TD. So he's showing poise. He's elusive. He can get out of the pocket, and he can buy some time. And that really, when you have a mobile quarterback and you have the bad news bears blocking for you like we did last year, you're going to need a guy back there that's sort of mobile. And I think the biggest thing that with him is that his coach was an NFL coach, and he brought an NFL system to LSU. And all he did was inject Joe Burrows in there, and he had the greatest season of any quarterback in the history of college football. So, in my opinion, there's nobody else that, in my opinion, that would garner being the first choice in this year's draft.
All right, Ty, will anything other than Joe Burrow suffice for you?
No, I like Joe Burrows as well. I think the one thing that he brings to the table that I don't think Andy Dalton does is he'll take the shots down the field. You know what I mean? Like, I think for a long time with Andy Dalton, just those real long shots down the field, either they're not completed or they're overthrown, and I think he's going to be a more accurate quarterback. He's going to sit in, he's going to read his reads, he's going to connect, and then if he has to run sometimes, he can do that as well. I think he's ready to go, and I like him a lot. And you put Mixon in the back, that'll take some of the stress off of him. Now we just need, somebody can catch the ball. We'll be good. Certainly block. That's the other thing.
So you talked about catching the ball. A.J. Green's 32 years old. Average salary right now is $15 million. I could see why he would be upset. I don't know how you can feed your kids like that, Joe. But when we look at this, A.J. Green is usually just a you want to sign him. But I think with the money he's going to want and the fact that he hasn't really played in 2 years, is there any concern with signing him here?
So I'm an advocate for the players, but you have to be biased about the situation. My opinion on AJ is that has to be an absolute must, in my opinion. I think he's a guy that not only he's gonna tremendously help out Burrows, he's gonna make those other guys get better. So if you're talking about signing the guy of his caliber, I still think that he has a couple good years left. Honestly, I do. He's hadn't played, so his body didn't take any pounding last year. But when you talking about drafting the most prolific college quarterback in history, and you're putting into this Bengal organization, if you don't surround him with the right people, and I believe Andy Dalton will be traded, and hopefully you're going to have to, hopefully they'll get a veteran quarterback that'll be able that he can learn off of, because it's going to be a transition. But I think with AJ makes that offense that much better. If you go out and get another wide receiver of his caliber, you're going to pay more money, and this guy's gonna come in. You have to learn the system, learn the players. I think keeping AJ will keep that cohesion, and AJ's not only going to make open it up for the other wide receivers, open it up for Mixon. He's gonna help that quarterback tremendously. So, in my opinion, I hope that's another must sign, and I hope that Mike can get it done. I don't see, and I don't think AJ. Was fortunate to have a good conversation with him on New Year's Eve, and he really wants to be back. And I think he'll, he's going to take what he wants, what's fair. I don't think he's going to go and try to, get $30 million a year. I think he's going to, he'll accept that he wants to retire a Bengal. And hopefully we don't have a situation like Mike did Whitworth, and we lose AJ to the Patriots, and I think we'll live to regret it, at least for the next couple of years.
All right. Ty, AJ Green, should they sign him or not?
I agree with Joe. I think you have to surround this young quarterback with weapons. And A.J. Green, he's rested, didn't play this year. He just, we pay him, and I think he's going to stretch the field. He's going to throw those by. He's going to catch those passes. And, when you get in clutch games, he's a guy that's proven time and time again. And you can go to him, and he's going to catch it. So I think you have to sign him. When I see all the injuries and all that, I agree with Joe. I think he's still got some gas in the tank. He feels good. He's probably prepared for this season, and I think you have to sign him and put him out there and help this young quarterback. Give him something to throw to.
My answer to that would be this. It is, since it's Mike Brown, I would say yes, they need to sign him. But if it's me and I can use that money to go get an offensive line, I would really consider that, Joe.
But you look, I think we can steal. In my opinion, I think we can. I don't think he's not gonna get a 5-6 year deal. I think he's looking for a deal right around 3 years. And if you bring in any kind of wide receiver of his caliber, I think you're going to pay. If you go with a younger guy that is not of his caliber, I think you're going to pay what you're going to pay AJ. I think a young up and coming wide receiver may garner that $15 million a year range. It is what it is. That's what the market is set at. So the thing with us, you got to have cohesion. You got to have continuity. Guys, when teams play better when they gel together. They play better when they're familiar with one another. And any team that you see that been successful, went to a Super Bowl, got in the playoffs, they're perennial playoff contenders. That team, those guys are close. They're close on the field. They're close off the field. I don't think you can have a team that's not really close on and off the field and really be successful all the time. So I do think that's an underlying factor. I think we can go out and get a free agent. And in my opinion, we have to go out and get a free agent lineman and not just try and roll the dice again on a second round pick, on a third round pick, and hopefully one of those guys in jail. I think there are some formidable guards out there that will definitely going to help us out, help out Joe Burrows. And if you look at what our running game did the last 4 games, I think the line started playing, even though it was toward the end of the season. And of course, I don't think everybody was playing as hard, as they normally would. Going down to play in Miami, we didn't play some really, top teams at those last 4 games. But, there were some good things. There were some bright spots in the running game toward the end of the year. But like I think we all talk about, we definitely need a veteran guy in there, and then hopefully we'll eventually, because we've been swinging for the mountains, man, and we've whiffed the last 3-4 years on offensive linemen. Hopefully we can go in and get somebody that's going to come to training camp healthy, unlike Jonah did last year, and be able to push some of these guys that they are leaning on starting.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 linemen that are unrestricted free agents that would help this team right away. Brandon Scherf, the guard, I think, would be a huge upgrade. What about Greg Olson?
It's well, you know what? I think, Mike, you guys, you and Ty, I think we can probably mention, 10 guys, and we'll take them, and it'll be an upgrade from based on.
Well, actually, I could probably name every guy on this list of unrestricted free agents, and it would be an upgrade.
Yeah.
I like Tooney. I would like to see Tooney come. The Patriots.
Yeah. Tooney, he'll be definitely will be an upgrade. So we already know that Trey Hopkins is going to be a center. Your contract indicated that Jonah Williams is going to be there, and I think the guy that I don't think any of us like, Hart. Based on the contract, I think it's Hart's job to lose. And if it
was, he'd already lost it, Joe.
Yes, if he's going to compete against the guys that are there, he's going to be the starting offensive tackle. If they bring somebody in here, any of those free agent guys, I definitely think that he will not be in the starting lineup. We have to. We're going to be a formidable team. I cannot see a playoff contender and a team that's going to go deep in the playoffs with a Hart starting at one of your offensive tackles. Absolutely not.
I like Fred Johnson at the end of the year. I thought that was a great pickup and take from the Steelers, and he proved that he got in there, and he really did a great job. And so that was a really great pickup for the price that we got. It's kind of like a garage yard sale steal there. You know what I mean? Because I thought and then I don't even know what you do with Billy Price. I mean,
you send him back to where he came from?
Yeah, you send him back to Columbus.
I mean, how about this?
What
about Jake Conklin, the right tackle in Tennessee? He's only 26 years old.
I've seen him, and he can play. He's a big guy. I think he's a guy that he's young, but and we all know we can get excited and we can talk about all these free agents that would definitely be an upgrade, but we know that it's going to come down to price. And I'm not talking about Billy Price. It's going to come down to the money. And if some of those free agent guys that are going to garner a lot of attention, we're not going to get them. So we'll know the first 2 days of free agency. There's going to be a couple guards and a couple tackles that will garner a lot of attention, and Mike Brown would not even blink at those guys because he's not going to get in the bidding war with anybody. He's going to go see who's in the middle of the road and may have one team, or two teams that they're most interested in that particular player. Any guy that is talking to that's hot and is talking to 5-6 teams, I guarantee you Mike is not going to get in that conversation. And, it's going to come down to who's going to be able to have, he can get with the best contract. It's definitely going to come down to that.
Well, I think what they usually do is they go after the recently cut veterans and cap casualties. That's what they're going to do. That's how you got James Harrison, Richmond Webb, Sam Adams, Terrell Owens in the past. And that's what he's going to do. And this year, that would be guys like Andrew Whitworth, Jason Peters, Donald Penn, and Richie Incognito. Maybe they get one of those guys. Out of all four of those, I would prefer Richie Incognito because he's a really good guard.
Rich's a bad boy, man. I know he definitely be an upgrade.
He's a big boy, that's for sure.
Well, he's what this team needs. He's a mean SOB.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah. He's definitely built of a different cloth. But any we can talk about any of those guys. And
hey, Joe, does that mean he would probably wear a hood if this was 100 years ago?
No, ain't no telling. Ain't no telling. I don't know, Richie.
He scared that one dude off in Miami that was 6'8", 300 pounds.
Yeah, he was a Stanford guy, man, and I think there definitely was some other issues in regards to that. That guy had he had some mental health issues going as well. But when you look at it, we want to get excited because we see these guys, we see the free agent guys, and the guys that we know that would definitely help. Our team. But then we have to get back and get slapped in the face and come back to reality, Ty, because we know that he's already said there's a certain budget that it's already set, it's already etched in stone. And the reason why we continue to fail. So obviously, there's we have these a couple scouts where every other team has 28 scouts, 30 scouts. We have our huge 4-scout department, 4 guys. And those guys are going to really do the bulk of their, talent search at the combine. So you have to understand, every other organization has sent their scouting department to games, to practice, during bowl week. In bowl week, you'll get, and any bowl game, you're going to get 3-4 good days of competition, before the game, and you'll be able to see that player in their surrounding. You'll be able to see that player with their teammates. You can go see if he's a tough guy or if he's a team guy. What kind of you don't get none of that because we're not. The Bengals are not out there. They're not in that kid's environment. They haven't. They're looking at highlights on ESPN. And it's not until they get to the combine they're going to be able to see these guys on the field. And Mike, we've been around football. There's so many guys that you look at them, man, and they built like Tarzan, but damn it, they play like James.
Yep.
And that's what we're going to go off of because you're not going to you're going to listen to Mel Kiper, you're going to look at all the reports, and just like Joe Burrows. Just because of the fanfare, but he's a kid that's deserving, no doubt, of that first pick. But if you were coming out and Tua, let's say Tua didn't get hurt, I would guarantee you that
Now
we talked about we talked about scouting last year, and Mike put up some
everybody else in our division has 30
teams,
to 40,
right.
and we have 4 full-time and 4 part-time.
Well, the only thing that really I'm hoping, as a Bengals fan, that's what you do a lot of times. You hope that Mike Browner does the right thing. But like Taylor did and his staff did coach the Senior Bowl. So I was hoping that in that time, they could talk to a lot of the players, get to see a lot of the players outside of off the football field, be able to talk to them and really get a sense of, all right, maybe our scouting department can, but here's all this talent in one location, and let's see if we can really pick, the second and third round and really get an impact player that can come right away and make a difference. And that's what I'm hoping, that if the scouting department fails, that these guys were able to, as a coaching staff, figure that out.
Yeah, and we look at the other free agents. The two to stand out as unrestricted free agents. Ty, Darqueze Dennard, would you bring him back?
I would. I know he's a slot. I would bring him back before Kirkpatrick, and I know they play different positions, but if I was going to spend the money, I would spend it on him versus and cut Kirkpatrick, or I try to get something out of it, because I don't. It's kind of hard because he was injured and then he came in and played. So, but I thought he played all right.
Joe?
Absolutely not. Zero cutting. Should have been cut a long time ago.
With Drake Kirkpatrick?
No, I'm talking about Dennard.
I know,
Dennard's
with him, though.
First round.
I'm not a big fan of either one.
Yeah. So, with Dennard, in my opinion, here's a guy that he's a first round guy, and this guy cannot get in the starting lineup. And they tried to give him an opportunity. So, in my opinion, he's just a guy. Kirkpatrick, in my opinion, I think Kirkpatrick, I would keep Kirkpatrick over Dennard, but Kirkpatrick, in my opinion, he's going to be a casualty of war. He's going to be a casualty of that contract because he still has some big numbers to pay. I'll be surprised if he's not. But the thing about it, you won't. We can't afford with who we have. We can't afford to let both of them go because we don't have anybody behind. So just as bad as I think Dennard is, and Drake Kirkpatrick is definitely, we don't think Dre's a $52 million cornerback, but he's a $52 million cornerback here, based on what we have. And when you're looking at trying to shore up our defensive backfield, we don't have to like it, but Dre is the go-to guy. When you talk about guys and hung out with him a couple of times, we work at the same gym, he is the guy that they go to. William is still a young guy. The safety, he's a young guy, and hopefully, we're going to pray to the baby football Jesus that we get a strong safety and get 36 out of there as well. we need some talent back there. We need some guys that are versatile, that can, play the pass and cover tight ends down the field. And what about just learning the defense? We had so many blown assignments. That's just absolutely amazing to me that, even toward the end of the year, how many blown assignments our defensive backs were making. So, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do in the offensive line, and we have a lot of work to do in the defensive backfield and linebacker core.
All right. What about Tyler Eifert? His contract's up.
I think if you can get Tyler Eifert, at a cheap rate like he did again, I think you could keep him. I'll be honest with you. I thought they didn't use him. They didn't use any of their tight ends till the end of the year. So they really didn't use their tight ends in any schemes that could help them. But at the end of the year, they started using them more. And if you could pick him up at another cheap contract, I think you do it just to help out Burrows if they choose him.
Yeah, I think if he's cheap,
Joe,
I think you take him.
Yeah. I think, I've always been an Eifert fan. I think he's a, hell of an athlete, but I think he has lost his step. But based on what we have, and with, I have no idea why. First, I don't have no idea why they picked Drew Sample in the second round, even though he's a Husky. But never using. I don't even see in this type of offense that Drew Sample, his talent, ability fits this offense. If he was a down the field tight end like Murkowski or obviously
or like Eifert used to be.
Yeah. He can stretch the field. He has great hands and he has some sort of elusive. Drew is a heavy foot guy. I don't see the greatest feet, and he's just a guy. So I don't know what they're going to do. With that. But I would re-sign Eifert definitely.
I think with the Drew pick, that their whole thing was, and reason why they wanted to get him so early, and not wait in the draft, is because I thought their whole mentality was they were going to run the ball. And early on, when they couldn't run the ball, I think they weren't looking at Drew for catching a lot of passes because he didn't at Washington. They said, hey, we need an extra body on the line. We're going to run. We got Joe Mixon. And early on, that didn't work out for him. So
yeah, but they weren't playing Drew Sample when they were trying to do that either, though, Ty.
Yeah, but that's when they got that draft. That's basically what they said. Hey, we got a certain scheme we're going to run. This is how we're going to do it, and we're going to run the ball, and so we're going to get this blocking tight end, the best in the draft. They said. So that's where their thinking was. Now they weren't using any of their tight ends.
Well, how about this also?
Yet they didn't.
My concern with the A.J. Green thing that we talked about is the fact that I don't think, if the Bengals don't sign him before free agency starts, Joe, I don't think he's going to be back here.
Well, based on what the Bengals can do to him, the Bengals can franchise. And, he's not he just can't go. They can franchise him. And if he's franchised, then in my opinion, he'll be off the market with 95% of the teams, because they're not going to want to pay a 32-year-old guy a 5-year mega contract. So the Bengals still kind of have him by their cojones a little bit. Hopefully, they can get it done. We'll see. There's going to be some surprises, and then there's going to obviously be some disappointments. With us, being Bengal fans. They're gonna do something that's gonna make us scratch our head, and then we're gonna, they're gonna sign guys, and we're gonna like, what you sign him for? You're going to sign another Bobby Hart. So
well, see, this is my thing. My fear is if they don't sign him, who I could see throwing a lot of money at him would be the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh wow, yes, interconference guy, absolutely. Because like I said, he's fresh. He didn't his body didn't absorb an entire year of punishment, and the guys are working out, and he was in shape, and he could have, had he been in contention, he definitely could have went out there and played, and I think he was pretty much 95 to 98, 99% ready to go those last couple of games, but there was no reason for him to put any injury on the table or put himself in any kind of harm's way, and to not be able to be ready for this season coming up. So that being said, we are hopeful diehard bingo guys, and we're being tied on Mike.
Hey, what's that mean? You know what? There was only one person on this show last year at the start of the season that picked them to go 1-15 or 2-14. That was me. You guys were talking about the damn playoffs.
Yes, yeah.
We're hopeful thinking, man.
No, see, you're hopeful thinking. All right? That doesn't make me not a diehard fan. That just makes me a realist who's a diehard
fan. Yeah. Well, you call, man, and we look at all the potential things that we can do. I think with all the fanfare, and they're bringing Joe Burrows in town and get this kid signed, that they would make it work. And you would hopefully think that maybe Katie can be in Mike's ear and say, well, hey, Dad, we got to make this work. We're getting ripped by Carson in the off season, and trying to encourage this kid to say he doesn't want to be drafted by the Bengals. And if we can sign AJ, you imagine him signing Joe Burrows, and you sign AJ, you re-sign Al Eifert, you just go get one.
Extend Mixon.
Definitely got to extend Mixon, and get that high caliber guy before the draft, free agency.
Jonah Williams will be back.
Yeah, and you have Jonah Williams coming back. And go to the combine this year and make sure, if you're going to looking at the guy, you make sure that he's not hurt. You go out there and do some drills. That guy, in my opinion, that guy was hurt last year at the combine. I don't think he got hurt in minicamp when he came here. He was already hurt. The type of injury that he had. Yeah. I don't think you could have done that in shorts.
Well, this is the thing. It's still worth the pick
Burroughs
if he turns into be a Pro Bowler.
What's that? Say it again, Mike?
I said it'll still have been worth the pick if he turns out to be what he's supposed to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he's that guy. I think he can be that guy. And hopefully he's a guy that you get a guy that just has one injury, then he has another injury, then another injury. So hopefully he can get out there and because he's a beast. He's a beast, and he's an animal. He's an animal off the field, and an animal on the field. And I think he's the type of lineman that we can totally use. And he just needs one more nice free agent pickup, and we can have a damn good offense.
Yeah, I think Jonah Williams is he's a student of the game, from my understanding. He breathes football, and he studies it. I think Burroughs will want to come here. But if you do everything that, like Joe talked about, you get your line, you have your weapons. There's three reasons. A, he's going to want the money. B, his girlfriend lives here in Mesa. And C, he's got buddies from Ohio State on the team. So there's, and here's the other thing. I forget the stat. It's either 7 or 8 games. We only lost by 3 points out of 7 or 8 games. So we were 3 points behind. So I think you get over that hump. The real question is, once you do, everybody's talking about offense, is our defense. I mean, we have to step our game up defensively, and hopefully we get a free agent, certainly do it in the draft, and hopefully get a great linebacker and some D-backs to try and figure it out. Because without a defense, you're just spinning your wheels anyway.
Well,
right?
this is the thing, Ty. You can't find me a team, even the Detroit Lions, who went 0-16, what was that, in 2008? They lost half their games by less than a touchdown. The difference between being good and bad is you win those games if you're good. So I don't read anything into that, because the NFL is so close that even teams, the Miami Dolphins beat the New England Patriots, So
right, exactly.
I would say this. 1987. How many games did the Bengals lose by less than 7 points, Joe? Like 7 out of the 11?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, if I recall, I want to say we were up at some point in the fourth quarter of every one of those games, and we lost. And there was a difference. We almost had the same team. You had a couple pieces here and there for an '88 team. And you see what happened. Just a change in attitude, kind of change in culture. Guys got closer. We had all the good talent in '87. We just put it together in '88. And had an awesome run. These guys, I don't think they're as close as we were. Obviously, because at that time that was probably the greatest offensive line in Bengal history. So I don't think we'll be anywhere near that type of offensive line. And they have in my opinion, they have a lot more work to do, defensively as well. You definitely got to get a linebacker, and I think you definitely got to get a safety, and another slot guy. So we have some formidable holes on both sides of the ball. And I think through free agency and just needing maybe one or two of the draft picks to come out there and be either a starter or a serious contributor, and we can compete. I'm looking at our conference, and based on what Baltimore did, and then they laid an egg in the playoffs. I see us being able to compete if we can get those 4 or 5 pieces that we definitely need.
Yeah, Lowell's one of those pieces is Joe Burrow. And the one thing is this: you look at it. We watched a team in the Super Bowl this year that was 4-12 last year, and I know a lot of that was just because they lost their quarterback, but they also had a great draft. Added 3 or 4 guys that really helped there. They signed a couple big-time free agents. My point is this. I know that's not going to happen here. So hopefully Joe Burrow will just be the second coming of, John Elway.
Even John Elway, they had to put some pieces around John.
Hey, but the thing is this. They did not, because they didn't until they got to the late 90s. And he still got them to 3 Super Bowls without pieces. I mean, if you remember – the wide receivers he was running with in the mid '80s was like what, Vance Johnson, and I mean they were solid receivers.
Yeah, they were nice. They were decent. They were I don't think you
they were solid.
Yeah, they were solid. They were solid.
But the thing is this: Joe Burrow can make solid better than solid if he's what we think he is. It's like this. Duper and Clayton weren't anything till Dan Marino got there, and when Duper and Clayton left Dan Marino, they weren't anything again. So if you've got a quarterback that can throw guys open, they can. I mean, look how many times like the Hogan kid at New England. What'd he do this year when he went to New England? Would Wes Welker do when he left Tom Brady? So when you look at it, if the quarterback's that good, because I think the stat was through his first 10 years, even though he went to 3 Super Bowls, the only time John Elway had a 1,000-yard rusher was in 1989 when Bobby Humphrey ran for like 1,020 yards. And that was it. So John Elway didn't have a lot of weapons around him, but John Elway was, I think, one of the 3 greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen.
Yeah, John was a stud. John was a stud, definitely. So I think he has the potential to be that type of player. I'm not going to put him in the Hall of Fame today, but he has that ability. But you're gonna need a couple pieces. You add a couple pieces. You seen him. He in the championship game. He gets that ball all over the field. He utilized his tight ends. He utilized his wide outs, his slot guys. His running backs. He was making really snap decisions. There was no hesitation in there, and he didn't see anything. It wasn't open. You see him go through his progression, and boom, it wasn't there. Let me go get 5-6 yards, and it was like a machine. And they were playing a great opponent, but he made the difference, with LSU this year, and I think he can. She can be that type of guy, but this is the NFL. It's on another level. And he's not going to just be able to come in and overnight, turn this team around, and we're going to say, okay, we're ready for the Super Bowl just because of him. We're going to need some pieces, around this kid, and hopefully, if they trade Andy, which seems to be, the chatter. That we can get a veteran quarterback that can be a soundboard for this kid, and he doesn't have to just go out there and wing it. But like I said, if you get rid of Andy, he doesn't have anybody there to
yeah, but you can't keep Andy because he makes too much money. You can't afford to pay that position that much money.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I got
go ahead.
I got a question for Joe. Do you keep John Ross?
I think based on the salary, his salary is not just overly expensive. I think that with Zach Taylor, what Zach Taylor seen the first 3 games, I think he was excited about what John brought. Those first 3 games, and he was out. 8, 9 games after that, 10 games after that. So I think, in my opinion, I'm still rooting. I'm still rooting for Ross. But even that's still, if AJ is signed, AJ he's gonna make both of those guys reach another level. And AJ was that guy. AJ was that confidant. AJ was that guy that John can talk to on the field, and get him in the right place. And with Ross, to me, it's confidence. The kid is one of the most talented kids out there, but he doesn't have that confidence, and it shows.
Right.
A lot of his drop balls.
A lot of drop balls. I like Tate though. I think Tate really came on toward the end of the year, and I think he could be a major player in this offense.
Yeah. It's when you see those guys both, you look at them, they both had tremendous games. They had tremendous catches, but then they dropped balls right in their hand. They both were really, really inconsistent. Even Tyler, he was the most consistent guy, but he was inconsistent based on how well he played when AJ was in there. Tyler dropped a lot of balls. So overall, you have that type of player in A.J. Green that can elevate everybody's game. So when you look at that, do you add new pieces to the puzzle? Is he a good locker room guy? Is he a guy that studies hard? Is he coachable? All those, when you got to factor in those tangibles that in that locker room, that can tell you whether or not they can, should shine, John Ross, or keep John Ross, or keep Drake Kirkpatrick, or Darquez Bernard. It's with those guys, it has to be an extenuating factor, because if you just think about it in football terms, okay, Dre, he makes too much money. Bernard, then the first-round guy hadn't been able to bust the starting lineup. John Ross been too inconsistent. AJ's too old. Eifert broke down. Let's get new people. I don't think that will work. I think we'll have another 5 5-11, 6-10 season, and we'll waste.
Hell, Joe, that's 3 times better than what we had this year.
Hey, you know what? We're expecting more, Mike. We expected more.
Are we really, Joe?
More.
Joe, are we really?
Yes. Yep. Honestly, yes. It's when you think of Joe Mixon, you think of AJ Green, you think of these guys, these pieces. Those are not just guys. Joe is just not a guy. Joe is a special talent. And you can't waste him. You can't waste them.
Yeah, but you know what I think of? I think of like Billy Price, Bobby Hart, guys like that. And without guys up front, you're not going to win.
No. Well, we said that. I think we all agreed on the fact that there's definitely going to have to be free agent pickup. I don't know what they're going to do with big boy Gordy. That's going to depend on his attitude and his willingness to I just don't think he's a tough guy.
Well, you know what? I saw Gordy at the Walmart down here the other day, and he was still riding one of those carts, so I think he's still injured.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's you think about it, man. It's last year was just a bad year. It was a bad year for obviously all the fans. It was a bad year for a lot of the players down there, and new coaching. You have to understand, the Bengals hired a guy, Zach Taylor, who's never been a head coach on any level ever. And now he's the head coach of the National Football League team. He hired his guys who never had been in a defensive coordinator capacity for an entire season. And all those things showed. The lack of adjustments showed. When you go in and you look at a film against the San Francisco 49ers, I have no idea what you guys scouted, or what was in the game plan, but it sure wasn't on film. And that's a lot of that's inexperience. Not being able to put your guys in the right position and right situations. I think throughout the season, just looking at going to some of the games and looking at some of the games on TV, especially defensively, we were beat by our line. And I don't know what his defensive philosophy was or is, and quite as kept, I don't think half the players knew what his defensive scheme was, because they looked just as confused as I did. So hopefully they brought everybody back, and we're looking at the same kind of offensive scheme and the same defensive scheme, and hopefully after a year under their belt, that these guys can, and the coaches and the players can be on the same wavelength as far as whatever his purpose is, and whatever kind of defense he's trying to run.
All right, Ty, any final words before we wrap it up?
Just gonna check out the combine and see what kind of players stand out, and hopefully especially on defense, and just look forward to the draft, and hopefully we make we go with Burrows. That's what I want. And then go defense. We got to get some defensive players out there, or it doesn't matter who's quarterbacking if your defense can't stop anybody. So that's what I'm looking for as a fan, and better chicken fingers at the stadium. Other than that, I'm good.
All right, Joe?
Well, Mike, I'm an optimist, man. I'm going to call, and I'm probably going to call you from the – well, are you going to the combine?
I've got a parents' meeting on the Thursday when the quarterbacks are there, but I will probably go up Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I just got to figure out which day I can get there.
Okay, so I'll definitely be there, and combine it's exciting. I think the fact that we are picking the number one pick, and everybody's excited about Joe Burrows. I'm expecting to see a lot of Bengal fans in Indianapolis that last weekend, and we can just go off of hope. And as you know, hey, you look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady, based on the talent level that he's always had at New England and what he's done, and this guy can be that type of quarterback that will elevate everybody's game. You can imagine if Tom Brady had a Joe Mixon, if he had an A.J. Green, of course he had one of the greatest tight ends of all time, Bukowski. But he's had guys, and even his offensive linemen, they've been just guys.
You remember this though? One of his guys was Bill Belichick, and we've never had that.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we're not going to have that. So,
no, we're not. We got Opie.
Yeah. So we like Ty was saying, it was fortunate because of the season was so bad. We were able to have all the coaches coach in the Senior Bowl. So, I'm sure that's the first time that Zach and his staff was able to see guys, and you're able to see those guys compete, because I played in the Senior Bowl, and that's some serious competition. You got competition all week. You heard about this guy, that guy, and I came out. You had I think we had I don't know, John Ringstra. He was one of the offensive linemen on the other side, and I wanted to go against him because I wanted to go against the best. Bo Jackson. We had John L. Williams I was going against. So you wanted to see where you were talent-wise if you could compete. So hopefully that they went down there and they got some really good footage, but they were able to go down there and be real scouts and get to see guys, see players for what they're worth, and be able to. It's different, Mike. It's how when you're in the film room and you're looking at film, than being right next to this guy and watching this guy get his ass kicked one play and then come back. Or you can see a guy whoop him and he quit. Oh, you've seen that, and you can't see that on film, but you can see it in person. So hopefully, there's some tangibles that they've seen in some guys, and there are some guys who went down and played in that game that weren't big name guys, but just reading some of the scouting reports, they had some studs down there, and hopefully, we can find one of those gems. And pick a guy in the second, third round that comes in here and lights it on fire. And that's my hopeful, conversation for today. Mike, we're gonna hope that this thing gets turned around, man, and because I think we have some talented guys that just deserve to be able to at least, make the playoffs, man, and have us excited about coming to the games every week. So we'll see.
All right, guys. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. I'll talk to y'all later. I'm just kidding. But I want to remind everybody, you can follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth if you have any messages. We will be back in a couple of weeks, though. Follow us on Twitter. We'll let you know when we're going to come back, probably after the Combine. That sound good, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
All right. So remember, you can catch us anywhere there are podcasts now, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, over 300 different media outlets. So wherever you find podcast, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Ty Robbins, Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.